Hello, my name is Elise, or Caffeine Misery, and today I'm going to be going over a deck that, admittedly, I wanted to do a couple months ago. I got a lot of the cards for free that I didn't already own. The only one I was missing was the grade 1 for the Ride line, which you might be thinking, oh, Liza, why didn't you just do the video, eh? Anyways, it couldn't have been that expensive. See, the deck I got mostly for free was Vampire Princess of Nightfog, Nightrose. You understand, in Parting Shade was pretty expensive. There we go. But let's go ahead, let's go through my profile for it finally. So obviously, because of the rules around the Stride deck sets, you have to be on the Stride deck set ride line. So I'm on the grade 0 Grenache, who when you ride into Parting Shade, as long as it rides over this guy, which it will, you draw a card and you get the Vampire Princess of Nightfog Nightrose crest, which has the same 3 skills as every other crest. You can stride, but you're locked to the same named Vanguard. All your grade 3 Nightroses become base 13Ks. Your front row gets 5K for every face-up card in your G-zone, as long as you have a Nightrose Vanguard. But the last skill is whenever 3 or more cards are discarded from the deck at the same time by your Vanguard's ability, you can choose a card from the discard cards and bottom deck it. How often will that be happening? We'll get into that in just a moment. For the grade 2, it's Pirate Swordsman Columbard, who has the hollow ability that when placed on rear, you can make it hollowed, but at the end of the turn, it's retired. It has the auto ability that when it's rode upon by a grade 3 Nightrose, you can Soul Blast 1, check the top 7, select 2 normal units that aren't Sentinel, one goes to hand, the other goes to drop. It's the same skill as the card dealer Jacqueline for Hari, except instead of going to Soul, the card goes to drop. And when it attacks, as long as it is hollowed, it gets 5k until end of battle. And lastly, the Vanguard is the Vampire Princess of Nightfog, Nightrose, who, once per turn, Generation Break 2, when your rear guard's retired, you can mill the top 3 cards of your deck, and you can call that retired card back. And when your G unit strides during your turn, you can Counterblast 1 to call a unit from drop and give it 2k for the turn. Yeah. So the way the crest interacts with that is you'll mill the 3, you'll bring the guy back, and then amongst those 3 cards, you get to bottom deck one of the cards you mill for Nightrose's Generation Break 2. On Nightrose, though, I'm on 2 more copies of the Vampire Princess in the main deck. This is for the GB2 Stride, the one that needs a Nightrose by name. We will get into her a little bit later. I'm also on 3 copies of Sea Strike Dragon and Largol, who you can discard when it's discarded for striding or riding into grade 3, you draw a card. And when it's put on rear guard, you can reveal grade 4 in hand, or if you have a grade 4 Vanguard, it does one of the 2 skills. The guard skill to gain 15k guard will never really come up for Enlargolf, because it's a Stride deck set. I'm not running the one of Magnolia Elder some people were running. And the Soul Blast 1, when placed on rear, to take a grade 2 or grade card from drop, put it back to hand, though, that will come up sometimes, depending on your hand and depending on if you're seeing certain cards. On that, I'm on 1 copy of Mighty Rogue Nightstorm, who has the hollow ability, the Generation Break 2 skill that if it's hollowed during your turn, it gets 10k, and when it's discarded for stride, you get to draw a card. And lastly, for my grade 3s, I have a little bit of a kind of spicy tech. I'm on 1 copy of Hurtful Pompadour, who is a rearguard from Venerable Stoharaja, the Youthquake deck from DZBT03. Its first skill will never come up in this deck because it worries about the orders from that deck. The second skill, though, on front row rearguard circle, when your opponent's Vanguard is attacked by your opponent's rearguard, you can retire it to choose one of your opponent's rearguards and reduce its power by its original power until end of the turn. So let's say your opponent attacks with its Persona Ride turn, they attack with a 20k, you sack this off, it goes back down to 10, it just doesn't hit Nightrose. Nightrose's skill, the Generation Break 2, is not locked to your turn. So after you retire it like that, you can mill 3, bring it right back so you can try and blank 2 of the opponent's rearguard attacks. You can try and make them a little bit easier to guard. It's a really nice tech. I really like it. It's at 1 because you have so much searching in the list that you'll be able to cycle it to drop. For grade 2s, I'm not really on too many. I'm on 3 copies of Marauding Shade, who has the hollow ability. When it's hollowed, if you have the Nightrose crest, it gets 5k, and if your drop has 10 or more cards, it gets 10k instead. And then when it's put on Guardian Circle, as long as you have the Nightrose crest, it gets 5k guard. If your drop has 10 or more cards, it gets 10k guard instead. It's a very simple, very straightforward skill. It's honestly a very nice skill to have because it's a really good intercept. And it still does. It is the main thing, in my opinion, that you bring back at the end of your turn when a retired unit is hollowed with Nightrose's GB2. And then the other grade 2 from the decks that I'm running main deck still is Witch Doctor of Langor Negrolazy, who has the hollow ability. When it is hollowed, as long as you are on Nightrose as your Vanguard, you can counterboss 1 and call a unit from drop. And at Generation Break 1, when the hollowed unit is retired from Vanguard Circle, as long as you have a Nightrose Vanguard and you have not countercharged that turn, you can countercharge. It's a very nice, simple skill. And then lastly for grade 2s, I'm on 3 copies of Sea Rumble Brave Shooter. The personalized skill doesn't matter. The only one that matters is that when it's placed on guard or discarded to ride, for a counterboss or 3 energy, you get a draw card. Lastly, to my grade 1s, I am on quite a few, admittedly. This is one of the things I really like about the deck. You have so many options. You have a lot of very straightforward, this is what you want to be swinging with, you don't really want to see other things. And then you have a lot of good grade 1s, like Witch Doctor Powder Bone Negro Bone from the set, that at the end of the battle is boosted and was placed from drop. As long as you have a Nightrose crest, you can retire and draw a card. You don't need to be on Nightrose with that, which means with a card we'll get into just a smidge later. Going second, you will be able to activate this your first turn, just keep drawing more cards. I'm also on 2 copies of Tommy the Ghosty Brothers, who can be discarded as grade 3 for Stride, and as long as you have the Nightrose crest, you can discard it to search your deck or drop for a Nightrose, and if it was the deck you searched, you shuffle. I'm also on 3 copies of Cam the Ghosty, who has the hollow ability. He has the ability that when he's placed from hand, as long as you have the Nightrose crest, you can check the top 5 cards of your deck and discard 1, and it gains 5k as long as it's hollowed. So it's kind of Philander at Home, the grade 3 triple rare from DBT13. That does the same thing, except if you have a threshold, it gets plus 10k. I'm not actually playing him because that is a $40 card that I have other options that do the same thing in archetype that I can guarantee are hitting bigger earlier on the first 3 turns, because I like the idea of rushing with this deck in particular. You can put a lot out and it doesn't matter if it gets removed because it's going to be coming back. Onto the out of archetype stuff. I'm on 1 copy of Green Jeweled Beast Elmadar. Elmadar has the skill that when placed on rear or guard, you can put 2 cards from the right deck from your soul or drop back to the right deck face up, and you either, depending on where it's placed, give it an extra 15k guard, so it's 20k guard, or you soul charge 2, choose a unit, and give it an extra 5k till end of turn. I'm on 1 because you're only ever activating 1, you're never riding into a second Nightrose in the deck. I'm also on 3 copies of Elusive Winged Dragon Shama, which when placed on rear, if your Vanguard grade is less than or equal to your opponent's Vanguard's grade, you can discard 1 card from the top of your deck, and it gets 2k. Along with that, on Rearguard Circle and Drop, when you discard a card from hand during your turn, you can Energy Blast 3 and remove it from the game. You get to pick one of the discard cards and add it back to hand. So this lets you recycle your Enlargals, Nightstorm, your Nightrose, and even lets you recycle your Sea Rumble Brave Shooters. And then lastly, for grade 1 rearguards, I'm on 3 copies of Amicable Maiden Alvina, who, when placed from hand, as long as it's not during the battle phase, you can pay 3 energy to either add an order card without Regala space back to hand from drop. That will never come up because I'm not on other orders in this deck. Or you can choose a grade 1 or less card from drop and call it a rearguard circle. So again, this is a way you can, very early on, you ditch Negrobone to ride into Parting Shade, call Alvina, you get to call this back, it was called from drop, call Cam, you've got a very nice early rush board, which I think is very important in these Stride deck sets. I think being able to, on your first turn going second, just slamming into your opponent hard and fast makes a big difference in the deck. Lastly, I'm on 4 copies of Warspout Gen. I'm on the regular Sentinels. The reason I'm not on Sanctitude is because I just don't have enough copies. That's it. Some decks I have reasons for it. This one, I just don't have the spares and I don't want to pull one out. For triggers, I'm on 8 regular vanilla criticals. You don't Soul Blast at all in this list, in this build. Some builds do. Some builds do like the Intercept package, the hostage stuff for that Rez had, Stoichea also has. So some decks use that because you can recycle your perfect cards, which is another reason to do this if you opt to do it, because you can revive your Sentinel and then Intercept with it so you have a second use. I'm also on 3 copies of the 20k guard fronts. Again, you're not Soul Blasting in this list. There's no need to worry about keeping cards in Soul. So I'm not making that much use of things. I'm not gonna make use of the Soul crits, the Soul fronts, stuff like that. For regular heals, I don't like the effect heals, honestly. And then lastly, I'm on a copy of Blessed Favor, which, if you don't know, it's the Stoichea over trigger, which has the ability to activate all triggers when it's drive check. So it's so it draws you an extra card, gives your unit a crit. Front row an extra 10k on top of the 100 mil, it gives a single unit. And if your damage zone has the same or more cards than your opponent, you heal a card. So regular heal condition. But that's the main deck. Let's go ahead and move on to the G zone for Nightrose, which, as it's brand new, it only has the 2 G units, which you're going to be maxing out on both, obviously. First is the first one. You're going into the Ghosty Great King Obadiah, who has an act ability to turn over a unit in your G zone. You check the top 5 cards of your deck, discard 1, and then you choose a unit from drop and call it. If you called a unit with Hollow, it gets an extra 5k. Again, it does essentially the same thing as the Demonic Dragon for Hari, just instead of going to Soul, it goes to drop. And it has an extra it also has a condition to give it 5k, which is nice. And then the GB2 Stride, the one that requires you to discard a Nightrose, is Mist Phantasm Pirate King Nightrose, who, on attack, Generation Break 2, as long as it's attacking a Vanguard, you counterblast 1, retire 2 rearguards, call 2 grade 2 or greater cards with different names from drop, and then if your drop has 10 or more cards, she gains a critical, and the 2 units you call gain 10k power. Though the 2 units is at 15 cards. But that's the list. It's an alright list. There's definitely things you can do. There's a lot of versatility in Nightrose because of how much you're making use of your drop zone, how much you're able to just cycle all the cards in your deck. There's a lot you can do to really benefit from it. So it's this is just my take on it. I can't really call it budget because of like the Brave Shooters, in the Alvinas, but those are cards I already had on hand from opening sets. But if you like the video, do all the things, like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and I will see y'all next time. Ciao.